Hello and welcome to this episode of Coded to Thrive. My name is Diederik. Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2024. And here we go. Time for a new year full of new opportunities to continue growing as individuals and as a collective. And most importantly, at least the way I see it, as a community, as a tribe, because we didn't come here to do it alone. We came to do it together. And in this episode, I want to talk about Gene Key 38. The reason I'm picking Gene Key 38 is because this energy is going to be present from December 31st until January 5th. And not only in that sense is it relevant right now, it's always relevant, but right now even more so. It being the core energy that's being currently reverberating through the collective and through every individual. It also highlights a really important theme. So let me dive into that. If you're not familiar with the Gene Keys, I will put some resources in the description and you can go ahead and check that out. But in essence, the Gene Keys are all about our genetics, our DNA, and what is it that is deep within our DNA that's playing out. And as you can imagine, DNA being instruction, there are many instructions, many different types of instruction. And Gene Key 38 is all about struggle. It is about struggle, and it is about fighting. It's about the fight. And this program can express itself through our DNA in three ways, or in three frequency bands, as they call it. The lower one, what they call the shadow frequency, is where our life force is locked up because of fear or anger. And that can also show itself in hopelessness or purposelessness, right? So when we're in a struggle, we feel like we're victims of life. Our life force is locked up and we can't seem to look at this particular theme in a different way in our lives. We're locked in, we're stuck. Shadow typically means we're stuck. But within the shadow, there is a gift, or rather within the darkness of the shadow, there is a light. And we call that light the gift frequency, which is the higher vibrational expression of the theme of struggle. And we call that perseverance. And when you take it to its highest essence, we call it honor. So in this video, I want to dive in what that means practically in our lives and how we can take this information to truly transform. Now, what I really like about this is that in the Gene Keys book, Richard Rudd titles the 38th Gene Key as the Warrior of Light. The Warrior of Light. And there's something in that, because if you're a warrior of light, you're also a warrior of darkness, because that's what that means. You cannot know light without bringing awareness to the darkness. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. So the Warrior of Light and Gene Key 38. Let's dive in. So this is a contemplation. I am not an official instructor in any way, but I've been using the Gene Keys for 7 years in my own life. I use it with my clients. And it's just always helped me to shift and see things differently. And this Gene Key is no exception. Reflecting on this, reading the material, it really made me realize and brought to light some really big things in my life. So the main thing about Gene Key 38, and I'll start with the shadow, but because they are all so connected, particularly this one, it's good to jump around. So the shadow is struggle. The gift frequency is perseverance, and its highest essence, this is about honor. And so what the main lesson here is that struggle is not only a normal part of life, it is a necessary mechanism for evolution. For growth and for understanding. In other words, you cannot escape struggle. In his audio, Richard Rudd mentions you can escape suffering, or rather you can transcend suffering, but you cannot transcend struggle. And you wouldn't want to, because it's struggle, again, that sharpens our instincts, our intuition. But really it tells us too where the resistance is in our lives. Where is it that we're struggling? Because what it's really about, we struggle when we fight without a purpose, without a higher purpose. There is no way out of this shadow of struggle without aligning yourself to a higher purpose that is written in your, not only in your DNA, but that resonates deeply in your heart. And that's really what this, in a very practical way, this gene key is asking of us. And especially it being at the beginning of this year, I think is beautiful, because it's asking us to think about what is our higher purpose, and how do we channel this life force energy that can get really stuck because we get stuck in the struggle. How can we take that and apply it to a higher purpose, to a cause worth fighting for? Give me 1 second. Just wanted to make sure we were still recording. Because the dilemma of this particular shadow, the shadow of struggle, is habit. Richard Rudd says, there are so many people that wake up and they make their mental checklist of everything they have to do in the day, and they get through the day and they may or may not have done everything on that list, but they feel like they haven't really lived that day or been aware of that day. And it just feels like it's a constant struggle. So it's about breaking free from the habits. So how do you do that? Well, you align yourself with higher purpose, and you see the struggle as being part of that higher purpose. Put your love and your dedication into that. Make it all worth it, because it is part of something greater than yourself. That's really what this is about. And I can tell you in my life that has been a real big thing for me. Whenever I feel myself aligned very clearly with a higher purpose, it's like all this energy just gets freed up. It just gets freed up, and I just feel this release of tension and this rising of joy and energy and focus. It really is like I become a completely different person. And I love that person, because that person can be very serious, really focused and dedicated, especially in the moment, and then shift and joke and laugh and dance when it's appropriate. So there are two ways that we can stay stuck in the shadow when it comes to this 38th gene key and the shadow of struggle. So one way, it's all about having this defeatist attitude, where we really have just given up deep within ourselves. We have given up. So it's one that's internal. We don't really project our misery onto other people. We kind of just keep it locked in. And yeah, our life force just gets stuck. It gets frozen. And there's a deep sense of pessimism that comes in. And it just feels like tension, so much tension, because the energy is not being channeled towards a higher purpose. And it takes a deep sense of inner motivation to get out of that. No one can help us do that. No one can help you do that. If this is something that's resonating with you, where you feel like inside you just kind of given up a little bit. And that's okay, right? This is, again, the struggle is there to help us. He actually, Richard Rudd actually says that struggle is a gift from the higher realms, because again, it allows us to find out what it is that we truly believe in and what we can truly put our heart behind. And that's what this is all about, because that's what the perseverance, the gift, is all about. Is that, man, when you are a warrior with a cause and you put your heart into it, you're unstoppable. You're absolutely unstoppable. There's no obstacle too great. You're just assured of victory. Definitely within yourself, because you know that you'd give everything for this higher purpose, this struggle. So coming back to this perseverance, either when you're in the shadow state, you either have this defeatist mentality where you've kind of just given up, or you are just always fighting with people, wrong time, and you're just projecting your anger and your frustration and your tension onto other people. So you're just always picking a fight just to get rid of that energy. So you're either projecting it onto other people to try and get rid of that tension, and free yourself again from the tension of struggle, or you are pointing it inward and collapsing on the inside. So bringing back the dilemma of habit, it's really about breaking a habit of seeing your life as just this constant, just making it through the day. They say the shadow of the 38th fights from fear and survival, whereas the warrior who fights from the 38th gift of perseverance fights from love. And again, love, because it is a source of energy that just cannot be extinguished. You can just keep going. When you truly believe in your heart, when this cause triggers on your heartstrings, pulls you forward, there's nothing that can stop you. Absolutely nothing. And so it's so important that everyone finds a higher cause that they can align themselves with. And it doesn't have to be something even, again, it can be different for everyone. But the struggle is going to be there. So everyone's going to be dealing with this struggle. And there's even a fear of death that comes into play here. Not only fear of running out of time, but mostly just the fear that life has no meaning. It's interesting, this, contemplating this gene key right now, because I could really identify with the dilemma of the habit. Just waking up and doing the same things over and over, and not putting all of that and seeing all of that through a lens or a perspective or a perception of it being for a higher purpose and a greater cause. Now, Here at Coded to Thrive, we believe we're all mission souls, meaning that we chose to come here, we chose to incarnate on Earth at this time to contribute our gifts, our genius, and our love to humanity, and to, as it pertains to this gene key, to be the warrior of light who goes on a quest to battle the inner demons that we have, our inner shadows. And that's why there is a little bit of sadness that comes with this one. Is the sadness that of Gene Key 38, that we don't have a higher purpose. We don't know what a higher purpose is. Now, I will say right now that it's not so much about knowing the destination of your higher purpose, but at least knowing a direction. And at Coded to Thrive, we're all about that. We're all about, really, it's the struggle. It's the being a human, But seeing it as something deeper and greater than just the day-to-day tasks that we do. It just gives it a different framework, a different lens, again, a different perspective. And if you feel like this is something that is missing, or that you have a really deep yearning for this, then whether this Gene Key 38 is active in your hologenetic profile in the gene keys or in your human design chart, body graph, the energy is in the collective and the energy is still in your DNA. Now, a couple of practical things when it comes to Gene Key 38, particularly if you're someone that has Gene Key 38. And it's very interesting. I have a friend in my life who has Gene Key 38 as his highest life expression. And that will go for any children currently being born in the next, from December 31st until January 5th, will have this gene key and this energy as the primary energy in their life, their conscious energy in their life. This is going to be huge for them. Finding a purpose to which they can apply all of their creative energy, all of their life force, is going to be huge for them. So it's all about moving from a rebel without a cause to a warrior of light with a cause. And with that being said, one of the things that Richard Rudd says is that typically what happens is that with Gene Key 38, one of the really important things that we need to do is to breathe. He says struggle is actually a shallow breathing pattern. And if we don't take time to breathe between pauses, particularly if we're someone that has this gene key active and that always is looking for a fight, that we can jump from one fight to the other and not have awareness as to what the right fight is and when and where to fight it. Because that's the real wisdom of this gene key, is to have the perseverance to always stay in the fight and to be in the right fight at the right time. And even though it's against the right people, this is where the city of honor comes in that honor, if you are acting honorably, you're always holding the highest frequency or the highest version of someone that you are dealing with. That's what you hold them to their highest frequency. So even if they're mistreating you, even if they're showing you their shadows, their fear, their anger, and making decisions from that place, you are still holding them to the higher frequency. And knowing that a true powerful warrior, that as a true powerful warrior, you know that it's not about the victory out there, it's about the victory in here. And in many ways, Richard Rudd talks about surrender being the final victory. And it's interesting that way, if we look at just history, but if we look at, even just conflict that we can have in our relationships. That when you are willing to surrender and you say, listen, I was wrong. I was wrong. You know, whether the other person was right or not, but we can say you're right, but yeah, I was wrong and I want to change. And even though it's almost like you surrendered, you really didn't. You're actually really in the fight, but now you're in the fight in a different way. You're not fighting against that person. You've become one. You've merged. And that's the paradox of honor, the way that Richard Rudd explains it, because he says, even though it is one of the highest expressions of individuality, the hero believing in what they're doing and going to the bitter end, persevering through everything that life throws at them, and coming out victorious. Even if they lose, they're still victorious. That even though that is a pure display of individuality, at that highest level, you really merge into everythingness. Because love is connection. One of the other things that Richard Rudd talks about is that with this gene key, you really want to operate across all three at the same time. Don't just go, okay, let me go from the struggle to the perseverance and then to the honors. Like, no, you got to do all three. That's the only real way of getting out of this. So back to this breath. The breath and taking a pause breaks up the pattern. And that's why it's so important to take a pause. And I'm going to take a pause right now. And we're back. Car just passed. But taking this pause is really important, and it's interesting. As I mentioned before, to go back, I have a friend who embodies the 38th gene key, and for him the breath is essential. He is a warrior, big on martial arts, and we've always talked about this in a very open way, is that his breath work really allows him to stay calm and only use violence when it's needed. And that's honorable. That's the warrior of light. So to take the breath, not only to be aware of where to put your energy and when to fight and when not to fight, but also to reconnect with your higher purpose. So, with all of this, my friends, I'm saying if you resonate with this, share what has come up for you, how you feel about your higher purpose in life. Have you found something, or has something found you that truly and deeply resonates with you? Are you able to pour your creative energy, your life force, and your love into it? Are you doing it on a daily basis? Is it framing everything that you do? Yeah, curious to hear your experience, any questions you may have. There's always more to say about these gene keys, but I think for now, this will do. And yeah, as I continue to reflect on this myself, it's interesting. I wanted to share that for the longest time, I'm 36 now, I'll be turning 37 at the end of this month. And I've always been about the struggle and the quest. I've always felt like I was here for a reason, a mission soul. And that there was a higher purpose to all of this. And also really thinking about humanity a lot. It's reflected in the movies I watch and the books I read. It's always about this, not just the struggle, but really it's it is finding the love in the struggle and the reason for it, and that it's beyond good and bad. It's beyond the opposing forces. It's something much deeper than that. It's about beauty, and beauty is love to me. It's about the beauty of the struggle, the story, how even in the darkest of places, the most beautiful actions take place. And what I realized for myself is that, I was looking for that higher purpose, and, especially in this past year, but I would say the last couple of years, I've really found it. And it's interesting because it's there for me. I see at least the direction it wants to go into very clearly. The greater purpose, there's many ways to speak on that, but it's there. But I feel the struggle, and I really resonated with the defeatist shadow frequency, where there is this, somewhere in my beingness, there is a sense of having given up and feeling stuck in these patterns, and waking up and just having to do it all over again, and just feeling stuck in the struggle and not necessarily aligning myself with this higher sense of perseverance, because it's all for a higher purpose that brings so much joy and meaning and passion, so much fucking passion, that it's literally, I can feel it in my body. I can feel it stuck if I'm not expressing it. And that's why the breath has also been so important lately. Just having had creating new habits that really support what I'm looking to do. And that's, daily breath work for the last couple of weeks. And it's really made all the difference. And continuing to make the changes I need to make and balance in my chakras so I can use this energy in a creative way that brings joy and brings meaning not only to my life, but to the lives of my tribe. And it's interesting when we actually do find our purpose, it can actually bring a little bit of extra suffering too, because we know it's there. So whether you found it or not, know the struggle is there, and the struggle is a good thing, guys. It keeps us sharp, and it keeps us honed in on contributing our gifts, our talents, our genius, and our love to something greater than ourselves. And that's what it's all about. So I just wanted to share. Going to make some conscious changes there for myself to really align myself with this higher purpose, because man, I know what it feels like when I'm in that, and it's magic. It's like something else takes over. It's like something moves through me, and it's loving. It's fiercely loving, fiercely passionate, playful, joyful, creative. And I know that many people in the community and the tribe are doing the same thing, or channeling all that energy in positive, creative ways. And that's what it's about. So, like I said, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button too. I'll be releasing more of these gene keys. The plan is to have all of them. So keep an eye out for the next ones. Gene key 38, the warrior of light. It's time, my friends. Let the passion burn. Apply it in powerful ways. And keep an eye out for events coming up. We're always looking to connect like-minded people, because we know there's a deeper purpose, and that's what really binds us and brings us together. So if that's something that resonates with you, if that's something you're looking for, come in and join us. Check out the Instagram page, and you will find more information about upcoming events. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. And Let's go. Let's persevere. Let's do it with honor and do it with love. And don't forget to breathe. Much love.